this image came to mind today. The White House undergoing a massive renovation in 1948.
Now, with a former real estate developer in the executive mansion, another teardown is underway in Washington and beyond, shaking the government as we've known it to its foundations.
Since the inauguration, President Trump has offered buyouts to 2 million federal workers, fired 16 inspectors general, and got rid of Justice Department officials who investigated him.
And he gave billionaire businessman Elon Musk free rein to weed out what they see as waste and fraud. That included shutting down USAID, the agency that provides humanitarian aid overseas. Critics say what's being lost in this government makeover is oversight and expertise.
Margaret Brennan in Washington now. So, Margaret, where does it seem they're going with all of this?
Well, overnight, nearly all of the 10,000 USAID employees who work to feed the world, combat disease, and respond to disasters, they learned they'll be put on leave as of midnight on Friday. And while the first target is foreign aid, it makes up a very small fraction of the federal budget, less than 1%. But it may be a test case for what is coming to other parts of the federal government.
Let them work!
Let us work, they shouted.
Let us work!
USAID personnel have been locked out of their offices and emails since Monday, leaving many confused as to whether they'll even have health care or paychecks coming. We spoke with one of those individuals who has spent the past decade at USAID.
Why in our conversation do you think you need to remain anonymous?
Everyone is really scared. First, we were scared for our jobs. Then we were scared for the safety of our programs. I have a family, like most Americans, and I want to be brave, and I just don't want to put them at any more risk than I have to.
Elon Musk posted on X, USAID is a criminal organization, time for it to die. What did you think when you heard that?
He said that. He said we were vipers. He said that we were worms and not a bad apple, but just worms. He said that we are evil lunatics.
In recent days, the Trump-appointed chief of staff resigned, and the two heads of security put on leave after they refused to let DOJ-linked staffers access classified information.
Are you still officially employed by the U.S. government?
I do not know what my status is. Part of that is that what's been happening has been moving with incredible speed and also an incredible level of sloppiness.
The Trump administration argues the cuts will increase efficiency.
Not only have we abandoned our colleagues, which is an absolute moral atrocity, but we have abandoned our partners in the world. If you've ever seen those photos of people delivering bags of food or wearing the USAID vests or delivering medicines or the big trucks coming in with aid, it's got big USAID logos on it, right? It's got America for a reason. It's got American flags on it. It shows people this is the U.S. coming to your aid.
Margaret, these cuts across the executive branch, to many people it sounds like what Donald Trump promised, and now he's making good on that promise. But it's not about cuts, right? It's about the kinds of cuts.
Right. It's not what you're doing, it's how you do it. Efficiency, no one's going to argue against. But, John, it's hard to put a price on expertise and experience. And as skilled workers are either fired or take buyouts, that impacts the government's ability to respond to crises. That applies to buyouts over at the CIA, where it takes years to develop analysts and agents before sending them into the field, or when it comes to these development workers who go overseas to stem a TB or Ebola or polio outbreak before it gets to American shores. It impacts America's soft power ability to gain influence, not through force. And it leaves a vacuum for China, which is America's chief adversary, to potentially fill that void.
So, Margaret, when you say this could be a test case for other agencies, other larger agencies, how might that play out?
Well, you know, Maurice, one of the things that stands out here is the ripple effect, not just in terms of recipients of aid abroad who, can't get their antiviral AIDS treatments, but here in the United States, a CEO of one of the aid groups told me that between 10 to 50,000 American jobs are expected to be cut across the U.S. in the coming weeks. Not government jobs, private sector jobs, as organizations go bankrupt. And keep in mind, the humanitarian world is not the only industry that is reliant on U.S. government spending.